The Files, Part 4. Before we get into it, I wanted to say I was sorry for missing a week. It was spring break, and I have three small children, but I have a small child. And so I was busy doing mom things on spring break. But let's go ahead and dive right into the history of Jeff and his soon-to-be accomplices. We have entered the 1990s. This is where we see a whole new Jeff. All of the boasting and bragging about his powerful friends has finally ceased. Jeff has now become a very secretive person. He would let everyone know that he was a self-made millionaire, of course leaving out the part where he got these millions at the expense of others, and he was now ready to make his sickest dreams a reality. Jeff claimed that his company helped billionaires. However, the only billionaires that we can confirm were clients of his company were Les Wexner and Leon Black. Leslie Wexner is the CEO of Victoria's Secret, and he has been under fire since this period in the 90s, when he and Jeff would have business dealings, quote unquote. Mr. Wexner met Jeff in 1986 in Palm Beach through Robert Meister, an insurance executive. Jeff and Leslie really hit it off. Jeff would begin to sort out all of Leslie's affairs and entangled finances, and in 1991, Les would make Jeff his power of attorney. This would give Jeff access to all of his financial affairs. Jeff would also begin living in Wexner's 21,000 square foot Manhattan townhouse. Jeff also managed the building of Wexner's boat, a yacht called Limitless, which I have pictured. Les Wexner, who I will call Leslie for the rest of this video, was giving someone that I'm sure he had had long conversations with and knew very well free rein to a business that was marketed towards young women and girls. I mentioned that Leslie had already been under fire at this time. Firstly, it was widely advertised how he liked to sexualize girls, young girls, in his ads and runway shows. And modeling agencies knew that this business of Leslie's was particularly demanding of its young, impressionable models. And they still made being a Victoria's Secret angel a huge deal. And someone like Jeff having access to this type of business was something that Leslie should have foreseen problems with. Although it is very clear to me that Leslie and Jeff share a lot of the same ideas. Jeff immediately took advantage of this unlimited access that he had to this business. Jeff began calling himself a talent scout, quote unquote, for Victoria's Secret. And this is where the first documented allegations of sexual abuse would begin. It is said, and this part is not documented, that he manipulated many young women and even minors into doing whatever he asked so that they would have a chance at being a model for Victoria's Secret, something that was seen in the modeling world as a huge opportunity. It was pure sexual exploitation. And by the mid-90s, Leslie had been warned many times that Jeff was abusing his position of power, manipulating young women and minors into performing favors of a sexual nature, for a chance at this modeling career, only to find out that Jeff was not a talent scout, and that they had been lied to and abused. And instead of Leslie getting as far away from Jeff as he possibly could, he made Jeff the director for the Wexner Foundation and the Wexner Heritage Foundation. He also purchased, or at least owned, a Boeing 727 plane that Jeff used. It is referred to as the, quote, Lolita Express, end quote. Jeff used this plane to transport underage girls, as well as powerful executives of his and all of his powerful friends, to and from the island. I'm sure everyone knows exactly which island I am referring to. However, in part 5, we will get deep into the island, because at this time, we have to talk about the other billionaire client of Mr. Jeff. And this client and friend was Leon Black. Leon Black is the CEO, or should I say, was the CEO, of Apollo Global Management. Mr. Black was also the company's co-founder. And here, during the 1990s, that company was in its infancy. Mr. Black appears to have had the same career that Jeff had. He was a pivotal figure at a company called Drexel. He did a lot of things for this company, but in short, he was known as the, quote, junk bond king. And although I don't fully understand what a, quote, junk bond is, it appears that they are essentially loans to struggling or startup companies. This is also how he built Apollo, by buying struggling businesses with huge piles of debt at, quote, bargain basement prices. Essentially, I believe that it's very similar to what Lewis does in the movie Pretty Woman. If you've seen that movie, there is a key scene where Richard Grere's character is at dinner with Vivian and two men. The younger of the two men, the grandson, is very angry with Lewis and his business practices, essentially tricking his grandfather out of a business that his grandfather spent his life building. It appears that this is essentially what Leon Black did as well, preying upon people who were starting their businesses or losing their businesses. So like I said, he's gotten his millions from essentially the same thing that Jeff has, which is scamming and exploiting other people. I don't know about you, but if that's what it takes to be rich, I'd rather just not be rich. And speaking of rich, Leon Black and Leslie sure did a great job making Jeff filthy rich. These two men were the founding fathers of Jeff's sex crimes. And as we look through the emails, it will be heavily implied that they participated in these sex crimes. Leslie and Leon were with Jeff almost 24/7 during the entirety of the 90s, making their later claims of not knowing him that well or not liking him and letting him go quickly absolutely preposterous. It is very obvious that these two men were best friends with Mr. Jeff. And in fact, they thought so highly of him that Leslie gave Jeff a total of $200 million over the course of their friendship, and Leon gave him $170 million. And we will discuss emails and the really dark beginnings in part 5. Thank you all for watching.